But just speaking, I guess from my own perspective here in Japan, I'm wondering where you see the Japanese economy heading in the next few months to few years.
Well, I think, first of all, they're going to have to continue to raise funds internally. They have been selling U.S. Treasuries. How much, I don't know, because it's a big secret. And those funds are being used in congruity with raising money locally, which they've always done, was a good thing. But the economy's never really recovered from 1990. It's been in kind of a limbo, a semi-depression. But they've done well under the circumstances with the hand they've been dealt. And then, of course, we have this earthquake that comes along and the nuclear problems, and that certainly hurt them. And it's going to be a real struggle for them. The export markets throughout the world are starting to dry up. It's not only for them, but if you look at the German figures and the Chinese figures, they're starting to head south. And Japan is going to be no exception. So it's going to be a real struggle. They're going to have to work very hard to do the things that they want to do and to keep everything together. It's a very structured society. The people are very strongly nationalistic, and I think that's very good. And I think in the end, it'll pull them through, not without the pain that everybody else is going to go through. So things are going to get worse in Japan, just like they are every place else, and maybe a little bit more than they should because of the earthquake and its fallout, we'll call it. And but under the circumstances, they're doing okay considering what they've been through.
Well, that's true. It certainly could be a lot worse. And there was an interesting headline that grabbed my eye the other day. Japan unveils $100 billion effort to cope with yen. And it's basically talking about the finance minister here, Yoshihiko Noda, making an announcement that there'd be a release of foreign exchange reserves to the Japan Bank for international cooperation for funding to aid exporters and spur purchases overseas. So Japan definitely hammering its sail to the mast of the U.S. and going down with that sinking ship all the way to the end. Is there some point where you could imagine Japan decoupling from the U.S. and trying to forge a different type of economy based on Asian trading?
No, because they made a deal at the end of the Second World War. We'll control the politics in your country and give you the stability that you need. We're only going to hang one guy. And you guys got to split the loot that you took out of Asia for the past 20 years. And that's, this was the Yamashita gold and all of the things that went along with it. And that's the deal that the Japanese made at the end of the war. And a lot of people were in on it. And the gold's all gone, but the deal is still there. And so I don't see them separating from the United States as you might call it a colony, but they will expand business in Asia as much as they can, and I think that's good and it's healthy. And throughout the world, I mean, they're building plants everywhere. The Japanese worker is having the same problem that American and European workers are having because production is going to China, Indonesia, Mexico. Mazda's building a brand new plant in central Mexico. $500 million, 4,000 jobs. They can't do it in Japan or South Korea or whatever because the wages are too high. And until free trade ends, the third world's going to profit and the established nations are not, because in between those two groups, they're transnational corporations, and they're making all the money. And in the American case, the money is made and kept offshore tax-free, $2.2 trillion right now. I don't know what the deal is in Japan, whether they have something like that. But that's going to continue as long as there's not world tariffs. And the world needs tariffs on goods and services because all the nations of the world have been degrading their currencies to stay competitive versus the United States and Europe, and there's no level playing field. And until that's stopped, you're going to continue to see what you see, and all of a sudden nations are going to start going bankrupt, including the U.S. and Europe and everybody else. And it's the only fair way to do it, to offset the lower costs that are now prevalent in places like China. And it's not just China, but places like China. And unless we do that collectively, internationally, the whole thing's going to collapse.